Today we're going to be talking about how I achieve my flawless base, and it has really good oil control and stuff like that. By flawless base, I don't mean eyes, eyebrows, or lips. I mostly mean just obviously the face part, and obviously I do have acne, so this thing, the skin routine I also do really helps with that. So if you want to see how I get this flawless base with my oily skin and my acne prone skin, the first thing I like to do to prep my skin before makeup is skincare, which, as you guys know, skincare is a big part of my life. I really take pride in what I do to my skin, and I really try and do the best I can. The first step I like to do is exfoliate. And all the dead skin that was on your face and now it is taken off. You can use, if you have an exfoliating facial scrub, that's like a 2-in-1, which I usually have, but I just ran out of mine. So if you're looking for a little hack, if you have really sensitive skin, I don't know if I suggest this, but I take some lotion and then put some sugar in it, and I only rub my face for a little while just so I can get the dead, flaky parts of my skin off of my face. This thing I like to do is wash your face plus your normal skincare routine. So if you did exfoliate and wash your face, that's 1-in-1. And then I use a little sea sponge. I don't know how to explain it, but everything I'll be talking about is in the description, and so you guys can go check that out in the description and see if you're interested into that. But I use a little sea sponge, and I feel like it really naturally exfoliates, and it's not as harsh. And then after that, I just want to say moisturize. Moisturizing is one of the most important things you need to do before you start your makeup, because you need to make sure your skin is, again, not dry. Even if you have oily skin, please moisturize, because it kind of counteracts. It's like, oh, my skin isn't so dry, I don't need to create as much oil as you were letting on before. And for dry skin, it makes sure your makeup doesn't bunch into those dry patches. No matter what, my nose, it doesn't do very well, but it's just something I have to deal with, and I just have to touch up throughout the day. And then now onto the actual makeup steps. First thing I like to do is prime my skin. I like to use a primer that is moisturizing, also is kind of smoothing. I don't like those silicone primers. I've never used Benefit Professional, so I can't speak for those kind of primers where it has a little bit of color and more whip texture to it. But the Smashbox really silicone-y primers, I don't like those. They're very slippy and they make my foundation move off my nose. So if you have troubles with your nose, I suggest not using those. But if you have big pores, I suggest on using them on your problem areas. And also use the primer that you think will fit your skin type best. So if you have dry skin, use a moisturizing primer. If you have oily skin, use a mattifying primer. Through trial and error, you will find your primer eventually. The next thing I like to do is set my primer. By set your primer, you're probably, what do you mean? I've been watching this girl, Jackie Aina. She is a beauty guru here on YouTube. I'll put her link below about her face routine. She likes to set her face with powder after her primer. She takes a loose powder and just takes a beauty blender and puts it all over her face, and then personally, I don't know if she does this, but I brush off the excess mostly so it doesn't screw up any of my foundation for surely. But you're probably thinking, you're not supposed to put foundation over a powder, or creams over powders, or liquids over powders. The little powder will not hurt it. Actually, this is the second time I had to film the makeup look. I was using a foundation, the Maybelline Matte and Poreless Fit Me foundation. It did not work well with the powder, but my e.l.f. foundation worked very well with the powder. Also, again, just depends on what foundation you're using and formulas might not work with other things, so just, if you're going to do this, I say practice it first before you actually take it out into something that you're going to do regularly. And also, setting the primer really helps keep oil control. And if you have a dry face, again, you don't need to do this step, but this is mostly meant for oily people, and you can change the steps throughout you want. And I just feel like this very helps my oily ass T-zone. Then, moving on to foundation, I've learned that if you want a really smooth finish, you use a little bit at a time. For foundation, I used to take a really heavy foundation and just go everywhere and then try and blend it out, but I had no more room and it would just kind of look like it was just sitting on top of my skin rather than really blended and very flawless. So I say, take a little bit, put it on, blend it out, see how much more you need. Again, if you know the foundation you're using and you know how it works, then go ahead and do the way that you keep doing it. But I just say use smaller sections to know how your skin is going to react. And then if you do end up using a lot of foundation, you'll cover up the things you want, but the rest of your face might look so nice. So I say start with a small layer and then focus in the areas you need more coverage. So sometimes when I have a really bad pimple along my jawline here, I put on a small layer of foundation and then I just kind of focus more coverage into the areas that I need. Then next I like to set my face with a color powder. I just take a brush and then pounce it all over my face. Again, it doesn't really matter, I don't like dusting. People usually go like tap it in, then just go blah, blah, blah. I like to take a brush. I like to take a brush, like kind of where it's kind of bigger and more dense, and I like to go like this around my face, so I make sure the powder is into my face and it's not, so I make sure that it does not move throughout the day. Powder helps a lot with keeping your foundation on and making it last throughout the day, so if you're having problems with that, maybe you need to find a primer to use. I meant to say powder, not primer, sorry. For my oily skin girls, you can bake your face. By baking my face, I mean taking an excess amount of powder and putting it under places I use my concealer. And with that, you kind of just want to place it under so it looks like you have a lot on. And you don't need to put a lot, but just enough so it looks like it's actually there. And then also, you guys see me do baking before my videos. I do it all the time. I just feel like it's just making sure I'm blocking the things in place. And also, I crease a lot under my eyes, so it really helps me in that sense also. And you can set the other places of your face where it also creases. I have a forehead wrinkle that likes to crease, so I always bake up there. I sometimes in my smile lines, but not as often. I don't really like to do that. And along my nose, because that gets very oily. And then to bronze my face, I like to use a bronzer from the drugstore. It is really good. I feel like it's enough coolness but enough warmness to give color back into the face. And for bronzer, I like to kind of, you can see because I'm going to put a video over my talking, but I like to go kind of down my cheekbone and then kind of like blend it out in circles. I like to focus it and then blend, because I feel like, first of all, blending is key with face powders, and contouring and bronzing and blushing and highlighting blending is your friend. To take some contouring powder. I'm not so much into contouring lately. I feel like it's a little bit too heavy, but a little bit of contour goes a long way, that I figured out. I used to go really ham and just go carve those cheeks, but I usually now bronze and then put a little bit of contour to focus it more, to make my face look a little bit skinnier. I only contour my cheekbones and my nose. Mostly I just contour my nose to add life again to it, because all the powders and it just looks kind of flat and dead in your face. For contour, I like to just take a little angled brush and I like to focus it only in this higher portion of my cheekbones and then kind of just blend it out so it doesn't look so harsh. Next, I like to highlight my face, and the reason I like to do highlighting before blush is because then it can all kind of blend together after. But for highlighting, I like to start in one place of the highest part of my cheekbone, and then kind of go there and then blend it out. So you turn and you have that like bang of color. So that's a tip for you if you want a really blinding highlight. And also it depends on what kind of highlight you want for yourself. And with highlighter, again, it accentuates things because it is sparkly. So if you have a lot of acne on your higher cheekbone, maybe it's not the thing for you, or maybe you can just go very, very light onto it. But for me personally, I just go very lightly because I have a lot of acne between my hairline and my eyebrow in that area. So I like to go light up there, more heavy on my cheekbone, while otherwise it could be opposite for you. Next, I like to go in with blush. I do not like to put blush on the apples of my cheek. It brings down the face, and so instead I mostly focus on not where you put the contour, not where you put the highlight, but kind of just in the middle and kind of blending them all through, so it looks like a seamless kind of 3-part step that looks very, very nice. And the color of blush is all up to your preference. I really like kind of reddy pinky blushes. I don't know. And my tip for you, if you're not really into blush, use a not very pigmented blush, and then build your way up so you don't go in and be like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. Like, that's kind of my tip for all powder products. Start with something not so pigmented so you can build it up to the thing you want without getting screwed over by your heavy hand. The last thing I like to do is set my face with a setting spray. If you're using as many powders as I do, I suggest to use a setting spray because it really just melts everything together, and so it doesn't look so powdery and make it look like you have a lot of makeup on. I like to set my face with a Urban Decay setting spray. I have not found a very good setting spray from the drugstore. Actually, the e.l.f. one isn't too bad, but I don't know. I feel like it just kind of screws up my skin. So my preference, I just like more higher end setting sprays because that's actually something that's keeping on your makeup. But there's a lot of good drugstore setting sprays that you might find. But again, it's just all up to preference. Makeup is preference. And then after I spray my face with a lot of setting spray, I like to take a large palette, or if you have a fan, a book, anything that you can wave in front of your face, so you can fan the water setting spray, whatever you use, into your skin. So it's not like setting spray, powder. It's more like merging and actually sitting into your skin. That is how I achieve my flawless base that lasts all day long. I had this on yesterday from 7:30 in the morning to maybe like 8 o'clock at night. So that's roughly like 11 and a half or 12 and a half. I don't know, 11 to 12 and a half hours or something like that. So yeah, that's how I achieve my flawless face. If you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel because I do makeup videos all the time. And if you guys have any video ideas, anything really, comment it down below because I'm really open to do anything at this point because I want to make stuff that you guys want to watch and also I want to do, so we're both that satisfied. So yeah, I'll see you guys next. Drop my phone.